Okay, good evening everybody, and welcome to the Copa Team Racing League, event number 2. This is the second event, obviously event number 2, of the Team League, and I missed the first due to a mistake over the starting time, but I'm here tonight. Now, I'm not, obviously you can see I'm not going to be racing, but I have to spin the pedals in order to be part of the commentary team. A word about my own personal situation. I'm still not well. I'm struggling with my breathing still, and I think I was hoping to get back on the bike again this week, but sadly that's not going to happen. Even talking, I get out of breath. I'm probably going to have this coming weekend. I'm probably going to have a another COVID test just to see whether there are complications there, because this has gone on for quite a long time now, and I'm not really showing a great deal of progress. So we'll see what's happening. Anyway, I'm looking forward to commentating tonight, and in particular, I'm looking forward to watching my teammates, Team 3R racing. I'll call them out as we get into the racing, because obviously I can't see them in the list at the moment. Only Tim Cook, but we are fielding, I believe, a team of 6, and they're turning up at the moment, so we'll see how that goes. Now, as I say, I have to climb on the bike before the start of the race, turn the pedals just so that I don't get kicked. And I also set an alarm tonight at the 1955 time slot. That's 1855 UK, to make sure I don't get kicked out, because I'll jump off the chair and onto the bike and turn the pedals again. So my commentary is going to be a little bit difficult tonight, I'm afraid. I really am struggling with my breathing, so apologies in advance, but I'll do the best I can. And I'm actually looking forward to this. I've been away for far too long, and it'll be good to get back into the swing of things, because there's quite a lot happening at my end. I'm changing over my setup and systems. I'm changing from PC, high-end graphics PC, and I'm changing from that to the new M1 Mac system. So there's going to be a lot of stress involved in just doing that changeover, but I'm sure we'll sort it. The Race 3R are actually, the team are actually due to expand over the next few weeks, because we've got one of the big races from over on Team 3R on Swift coming over to the platform. A guy called Matt Looker, and he's going to be running separate events as well. So along with my group rides, which is still taking place every Tuesday and Thursday night at 8 o'clock CET time in the evenings. Well, there we go. Okay, I'll turn the pedals, folks. So and then we'll catch up with the race. I'll just go under the banner. There we go. Okay, that's enough. And then if we use the old N key, we should get to the front of the race. So come on. Yeah, come on. Okay, why is that not working? Okay, let's just see if we can go to Windows and see whether we can get it working. Yeah, there we go. So here we are. We've got the race underway, and it looks like quite a large group. So we'll zoom out and find out who's been dropped from the off. But you can see that for the first, certainly the first fifth of the race, it's pretty flat terrain. There's a couple of rows on it, but it's pretty flat, and that's going to lead to the group staying together until we hit this first hill. I think this is a digital representation of Box Hill in the UK, so I'm pretty sure I saw that in the description. So we'll come back to this front group. What I'm going to do is I'm going to tab down and just see who's been left behind. So we'll swing the camera around, and then I'll work my way through the pack, and we'll see if anybody's been left behind apart from me, of course. But it doesn't look like it. It looks like all the racers. There is a few. Just a minute. So off the pack we've got Ebler, and then we've got who we got? Silver, Hurst, Nielsen, and that's about it, because there's one other guy, but he's on the start line with me and doesn't look to have started. So you've got a group here of 3 riders, Silver, Hurst and Nielsen, but we're going to work his way back forwards now. So they've been dropped off the group. They're 230 meters behind, so with any luck they might get back on before the action really starts. There's Ebler, and then this is the front group, which I'm going to keep an eye on. So let's get to the front of it and find out who's leading them out at the moment. Now this course, this is not a digital representation exactly of the UK course. This is one of the skin packs that RGTs allows you to use when using the Magic Roads. So although the profile is exact, this hill that you see and the ups and downs is exact copy of the course, the actual visual terrain that you're looking at is not. It's a digital representation provided by RGT. I think it's called Europe or something. It's based around the roads in Belgium, I believe. Anyway, that being as it may, so basically you're not going to see the same terrain as you would, shall we say, over on Swift, where they actually show you the drawings on the road and everything from the real life course. But Swift can't replicate as well as RGT do with the profiles and everything else. Now they're setting a fair old pace here, 44 kilometres, 45 kilometres an hour, so that's pretty fast going. And I would expect this first hill to really sort out the contenders for the race. I think you are going to see a split in the packs, and probably splitting into 2 or 3 groups. You'll have the out and out climbers at the front, because this hill is steep enough to, certainly as it gets towards the top, it's steep enough to sort them out. And I've climbed this many times, both in real life and digitally over on Swift, so I know this hill backwards, and I know that it gets pretty tough right at the very end at the top. So if riders haven't been dropped before then there's a chance for breaks to happen just before you crest the hill. I'm hoping the stronger riders will be able to hold on. Riders like Tim Cook, my teammate, and you can see, well, I can spot 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Team 3R members in this group, and we'll work his way through. as Tim's the leading 3R at the moment, but we'll work his way through them and we'll call them out as the group starts to split, because it's a little bit difficult to try and work through at the moment. So if we go to the front, you can see that Evan Oystenson from 3R, he's a known climber. He's a good all-rounder, but he's a known climber, and I would expect him to be up at the front. And Tim will probably be trying to hang on to him as long as he can. What I would ask, folks, is the Team 3R guys, if you can put 3R like Tim has done after your name for me, and Evan has done, it makes it much easier for me to spot you in the list, because we've had some new members joining the team and I'm not 100% sure, we've been away like I've been through the illness, of all the new members, and there may well be riders riding tonight that I haven't seen before, and I'm getting out of breath because I'm talking too fast. Okay, so as I say, you can see, let's go up the front and see who's leading them out. Dulac's leading them out, and then you've got the OTR boys in the white and green shirts, white shirts rather, white and black with green on the shorts. It's a really nice kit, the OTR kit. Not quite as nice as the Team 3R that you can see now in shot. And who's this? This is Rob Miller. Now he finished second in the last race, so expect Rob to be up the front. He's a really strong rider and a really nice bloke to boot. So I'd expect Rob to be there or thereabouts, and hopefully Evan can stay in touch. A call out to the OTR strong rider, which is obviously Dummer. He's up the front, but so is Paul Pudell. I'd expect him to be there and thereabouts at the end as well. We covered Paul quite extensively in the OTR race series that I covered earlier on in the year. You can find that on my YouTube channel. It's March Monuments and others. So we'll take a look through the pack and see who's been distanced, and then we'll come back to them. So let's see who's been dropped off at the moment. Now what I'm doing here, folks, is I'm actually using the keyboard. You have to go through the riders one at a time. So when you see it flicking down, what I'm doing is I'm using the down arrow or the page down button, and I'm surprised to see Evan off the front. Maybe he's pacing himself, or maybe he's waiting for Tim and pulling Tim along. So Evan and Tim at the moment are off the main group, which is a bit of a surprise, but this is a tough hill, and Tim is not a climber. He's slightly larger rider who's really good on the rolling terrain, and he can hold his own on less moderate hills, but once the terrain gets really steep, he's going to struggle because he's a bigger rider. So you can see I'm working my way through here, and we've got quite a few. Now Gary Birch, he's a 3R rider, but by his own admission, Gary's one of the shall we say, I think you'd call him a B rider rather than an A rider. So we'll see how Gary does tonight. I hope he manages to make up some ground when he eases off a little bit. Ian Hurst, he's another Team 3R rider. Ian, you need to put 3R after your name if you're listening, or if you watch this later, please. That'll help me out with commentary when I'm not highlighting you. Silver, he's another. And Silver, will you put 3R after your name, please? So he's one of the new members that's joined the group. No idea of his profile. There I am. So let's go back to the front, folks, and Dulac is still leading them out. Now, I have to admit I haven't had time to do my homework, so I don't know who CYB91 is, which team that is. But by the time we get into the series, I'll have had time to do my research and look up. As I say, it's been very difficult for me due to my illness, and I'm only just coming back to streaming. So once I get back in the flow, I will, I promise you, manage to give better commentary by telling you who the teams and who the members are once I manage to do my my homework. And that's the side of commentating that I enjoy. I recognise this section coming up to this bend. This is where it now starts to get steep again. So glitching the software there. Yeah, it evens off for a little bit and then it really kicks up at this at the end here. So let's see if we can zoom in on the ride and see who's Paul Riley. He's a good rider. So you can see the terrain, it went up to 8% there, and now they're over the top. Now this is where I would expect, and it's good to see Rob Miller in this front group, because it's going to split here. This is going to be but having said that, let's go back, let's work his way back, and you will find, folks, that riders behind, let's see if we can zoom out and see the groups on the road. You will find that you see, you can't see anybody behind this group at the moment. So we've got 1, 2, Dulac, who's gone off the front, and yeah, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 7 riders off the front, and we can't. I'm looking down the road and I can't see the following group behind. So they're 170 meters, but they're not showing on the graphic yet. So these 7, they're just coming around the corner now. You could just see them in the distance. So these 7 riders could possibly break away. I mean, there is an opportunity for what we call the rollers to catch them on this terrain that I'm highlighting here. But my guess is that these 7 will actually pull away. So we'll keep an eye on the gap. It's 165 meters at the moment. The riders behind could well pull that back if they work together, but it does look like we've just got a solo rider chasing them at the moment. Oh no, wait a minute. Let's go page. No, we haven't. We've got Paul and 3 other riders chasing. So we've got 4 riders chasing the front group. And then it's a further 170 meters to the third group on the road, where you can see Evans established himself. Now this is 2 laps, so it's going to give riders a chance to come back together. I wouldn't read anything into this first lap in terms of the final race positions, because I think there is a very good likelihood that they'll be finding the feet on this first lap, and then the action will happen on the second. We've got Jessen there trying to catch the group in front. He's just 14 meters behind. And there's Tim, there's Big Tim. Now, I would expect Tim, to be honest, to pull this back. The guys in front of him, 165 and 180, he's going to pull that back. He's definitely that kind of rider. But he'll be saving something as well. He won't be killing himself this early on in the race. So, and then a further, let's have a look, a further 160 metres behind, you've got more splintered riders. So it's gone exactly the way I expected and the way I said it would. It's splintered all over the road from that big hill. And that's just what I expected to happen. With the pure out and it's nice to see the two Team 3R boys hooking up together. So hopefully they can help each other. But let's get back to the front. Let's get back to the action. So we got Riley, Lawson, Dummer, Furnett, and who's the other one? Rob Miller, of course. My teammate. And I don't expect this group really to split any further than they are doing, unless somebody just loses a wheel through lack of concentration, because the terrain now will lend itself to staying together as a group and possibly trying to open up a bigger gap. And you can see they're reaching, they've got a bit of a hill here, but they're putting in good efforts here. Look at the red figures. Now what that means, when you see the I'll point with the mouse, when you see the watt kilos go to red, it means they're working above threshold power, and it's giving their watt kilos above their threshold. So what that tells you is that they're not going to be able to keep that going for an extended period, but it does show that they are working, and they're working hard to try and build a gap. Because the riders behind, there's no two ways about it, will be trying, certainly riders like Paul Pudell and Tim Moss, will be trying to close up and get back on. Now, I'm not going to commentate on what's going to happen this early in the race, so we'll follow it and see what happens. But I would expect, as Rob is doing here, you can see him going into the red. I would expect Rob to want to basically keep a gap, because it just makes sorting out the final race winners a lot easier if you're only looking at sort of like another 6 riders around you. I mean, that makes sense, yes, but it's just team tactics. Rob's got nobody with him. And let's zoom in and find out. You see, now then, looking at this, it does look like you've got 3 riders from the same team. And that could be an issue as we go further into the race, because they'll no doubt want to work together. And any rider, they'll try and you probably use team tactics to work them over as we get further into the race. I mean, what I would be doing, not this early in the race, but certainly on the second lap, is I'd be sending one of these 3 riders up the road to make a bit of a break and see who chases him. And then when he's caught, send another one. And then when he's caught, send the third, and just keep rotating like that. And these kind of tactics we saw in previous races that I covered, and in particular the OTR boys were absolutely fabulous in using those team tactics. And team captain James Ogilvie in particular organised his team exceptionally well during previous races. Now, what I've said is already happening. Maybe use that. Let's find out who that is off the front. Dulac. Now, we already know he's a strong rider because he's been pulling them along. So, you know, Dulac's got a 19-metre gap at the moment. When the group catch him, maybe one of their other riders will take off as well. Here we go. He's been caught, look. I think it's too early for those kind of tactics, but maybe they will just see who's got legs. So they could well, you know, I mean, Tim Moss, one of the 3 riders, is saying 30-second turns. But to be honest, if I was Rob, I wouldn't be listening to anybody. I'd just be riding at my own comfort level, never mind somebody dictating terms when they've got 3 riders. You know, I mean, by all means, discuss, you know, through and off and how long you're going to spend, you know, if you've got equal numbers in the group. But if the main team with 3 riders are going to try and dictate, you know, how much work's done and who does the work, i.e. everybody rotating. Because if I was the, how many we got here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. These are the tactics I would, if I was sort of like telling my team, if we had a team presence here, and I was telling my team, okay, this is your tactics. The other 4 riders in this group want to be letting the 3 riders that belong to the same group, I don't know what team they are, let's see if we can zoom in and find out, but I'd be letting them do the majority of the work. Precision. Okay, so precision, get my words out, precision coaching the team that's got 3 riders. So I'd be making them do most of the work. But obviously not here on the first lap, because this is just a case of pushing together and trying to, which they've done. Look, if you look at the gap, it's gone out to 720 meters and growing, but they are on the downhill section, so of course it's going to grow because the other riders behind them haven't hit the downhill yet. Talking about the other riders behind them, we'll leave this group behind. Obviously I will come back to them on a regular basis, but we'll leave this group behind and we'll go and have a look and see what's happening behind. So this is the front, and in fact it's even splitting there, look. So this is Evan and Jacobson. Now they're the group behind, they're chasing. So you've got another 3R rider, you've got another OTR rider here, and you've got 2 from the team in red and white. And who are they? Can't quite make them out yet. We'll come back to them. Let's have a look and see what's happening behind them, because I want to find out. Yeah, that's who I was into. See, Tim's 70 odd meters behind. He's on the downhill section. Yeah, but the next, I'll just show you with the mouse. This next section here is going to suit Tim, without, and when he gets back on the flat here, that's his terrain, and I expect him to close up this gap. And he won't mind me saying that. So Miller, Maka and Vignow. So we've still got riders all over the road, and in fact a good representation for you folks, if you're watching for the first time, is you can actually see the highlighted rider at the moment is the white paddle. So that's what happens when I switch the views. The white paddle shows the highlighted rider, but the white dots give you a good indication of where the riders are on the course. And of course you can see the front riders here, and if I hit the end key on my keyboard, the white paddle goes to the front of the group. Now the last time I was commentating, we did have this white paddle and the graphics, the elevation graphics, freezing up, and I had to keep turning the GUI, the graphical user interface, on and off, but it appears to be working perfectly at the moment, which is really good news, because it means I can keep an eye on the white dots, but also I can use the paddle and find out where I am on the course to work my way backwards, because you can see that, there we go, this group of riders, look, are on the hill. And if I go forward, you can see Tim's just getting to the top of the hill. Now there you can hear my alarm going off, so we'll just stop that and jump on the bike, and then I won't get kicked from the race. So I'll join the leaders in a moment, folks, but I've just got to turn the pedals. There's my power showing. I just wait till my cadence shows. There's my cadence. So I can now get back to the chair and commentating. There we go. Okay. So let's find out what's happening at the front. Altogether, 6 riders. So they've dropped 1. So we'll find out in a moment who they've dropped, but let's just check who the 6 are. Dummer, Riley, Lawson, Miller, Suhad, hope I'm pronouncing that correctly, and Dulac. So yeah, some strong riders there amongst them. And it looks like one of the precision coaching lads has been dropped. So we'll find out who that is. Oh, it's Fournette. And how far behind is it? He's 250 meters. So yeah, he can pull that back once we get onto this flatter section. If he can find somebody to work with, he could ideally do with the group behind catching him, but they're a fair way off. Let's see what happens. I've been caught out quite a few times on these kind of courses where you've got 2 laps by sort of like making predictions early. So I'm not going to do that tonight. I'm just going to keep an eye on the action. But obviously, in my own mind, I'm pretty good at working out how the race is going to go from what I'm seeing, and I can honestly say that this front group of 6, now Fournette may rejoin them, but I don't know, unless they ease up. I think this group of 6 are going to stay away and maybe even drop somebody else. And you can see that Rob's on the front, not hanging about, so he's pulling them along. Let's just highlight him and have a look at his figures. So, cadence of 80. His heart rate is sort of like in the mid range, so he's not really working overly hard at the moment in terms of elevating his heart rate. Yes, he's putting out good power numbers, but you can see he's not going into the red. He's staying under threshold. But I would expect him to push on the next hill, to be fair. That's where we're going to see the real contenders for the win, because there's no 2 ways about it. The riders that are expecting to be there at the end are going to push the next time we hit the hill. It's nice to see them swapping the lead. I'd be slightly worried that there's 2 precision coaching riders in this group. But 2 is certainly, for my team 3R, 2 is definitely better than 3. So at least one of them has been distanced. And 270 meters behind. So let's see what happens with him. So we'll work his way back down again, and then we'll come back to this group. There's Fournette, 280 meters behind. And then a further 500 meters behind, you've got Paul Pudell and Tim Moss. Now, Paul's not wearing a heart rate monitor, and looking at his power numbers, I don't think he's really pushing the boat out here. Maybe he's having said that, then he starts to raise his power. So we'll see what happens. This group are a further 290 meters behind. But as I've said, it can all change once we get on this next hill. You could see riders coming back. You could see riders dropping further off. I mean, look at the spread. I'll just use my mouse and you can see it on the screen. Now this is where, let's go to the front. So this is where the front of the group is. And then the last man in the group is here, look. just coming over the crest of that second steep hill. So there's a good gap between this front group and the last rider on the road. And what are we in terms of distance? We're more than halfway into the race. So I'm going to stay on this group while I just set another alarm, because the last thing I want to do is be caught out by so what time am I going to? I'm going to need 2020, give or take 2020. I save that. There we go. That means I can't be caught out, because that will definitely cover. If I get back on, then it will definitely cover the end of the race. So Rob's doing more than his fair share on the front. And Fernet is falling further behind, which, to be honest, is what you would expect, because he's solo working on his own. And I've spoken about this before. Even though he's putting in, you can see from his numbers, he's putting in 3.6, 3.7, 3.8 watt kilo. So he's putting in significantly more watts than the riders in front of him most of the time. Not all the time, but most of the time. He won't actually be closing the gap, because the front group are swapping and changing around and using drafting each other. And a solo rider can't hope to close that gap on a small group working together. And I've spoken in many of my other broadcasts, I've spoken about this, and how I do wonder if they can tweak it slightly, because to my mind, a rider doing way more wattage should be able to close rather than find himself falling further behind. But I don't know what the dynamics are. I don't know what the weights and the CDAs of the riders are, and how that's features in the software. So I'm not going to complain. I think RGT do an excellent job on the race dynamics. It's not perfect, as you can see, but it's pretty good. So we'll leave that discussion for another day. And here we can see that I don't think they're making headway at the moment. Maybe slightly, but we're only talking a few meters. So they've really got the work cut out to bring this gap back. And then the group behind them, and a further 250 meters, give or take. Again, really got the work cut out, because we've got the hill coming up, which is going to see splits. And in fact, I can see, and you can see, looking at the graphic here, you can see that already the front riders are splitting. So let's find out what's happening by going to the... Oh, no, they're not. Now that's strange, because it was just showing one dot. Oh, now I can see more than one, but it was just showing one dot, and I thought we'd got a split. But obviously the one dot is representing this group. Okay. And they're working nicely together, staying together. High wattage, 4 watt kilos. Occasionally going into the red, as you can see there. So yeah, they're really working for it. Let's just have a zoom in and see how we're looking and who's working hard. Yeah, I don't really know a lot about Dummer. I know a lot of the OTR boys, but I don't really know a lot about Dummer. So it'll be interesting to see whether he's up there at the end and how strong he is. Dulac is a real dark horse and somebody I really think will be there at the end. But I have to say I don't know anything at all about Suhard, so we'll have to see what happens there. So they've just gone. Well, they're just getting over the first of the steeper sections, and it starts to ease back a little bit here. See, ease back. It's still going to be. They're still going to be climbing. Let's see if we can find them. But I don't know. Second, I expected somebody to try and do, and just as I say that, Dulac's having a push. But I did expect this. I expected somebody to try and push off the front on the second ascent of this hill. And sure enough, Dulac is having a push, but I don't think this is going to go anywhere. My colleague Rob Miller, you can see him third wheel here, fourth wheel now, but he's not going to allow this to go. He's not going to let Dulac go, that's for sure. So we'll see what happens. It could well, somebody could well decide to push on the final steep section of this hill, and we'll see how it goes. But it does look like they're going to stay together here. Even Suhard, who got just dropped off the back a little bit, has made it back on. Now, obviously, folks, I'm staying mostly with the front group for most of the broadcast because that's where the real action and entertainment is. But I am also mindful of all the other riders in the race, and that's why I keep flicking from the front group and finding out what's happening behind. But what we will do is we will cover all the riders coming into the finish. So it doesn't matter where you are on the road, I will cover you coming under the finish banner. And we'll pull up the results live as well during the at the end of the broadcast as the riders are coming in. Certainly if it's close and we have to sort of like have a photo finish, I can pull the results directly from the RGTDB website. But these six look to be staying together, and I can't really see anybody pulling away at this point. And maybe that's a good thing because working solo so far from the finish, and they've still got 11 kilometers to go, would be sort of like counterproductive. So maybe trying to stay as a small group is going to suit them. You probably see from my trying to flick the camera around, it's a bit difficult on this course, this particular course, because there are so many trees, and to try and find a good line that doesn't get like that blocked with the trees when I move the camera around can sometimes be a little bit difficult. So that's why often I go to the overhead shot from behind like this. But even this can be obscured by the trees at times. Now we've got 5 there, so 5 has one rider been dropped on this final section. It looks like it. We'll find out who in a minute then. Let's just wait until they get over the top. Stay with them. There's a graphic glitch there. Look, we're looking through the wall. That's Dulac. Now that's not right because he's too strong to be dropped. He's probably just taking a breather. Oh no, Dulac's 5th wheel, so there is another rider behind. Let's find out who. Suhard. So that's mission accomplished if they manage to drop him, because he's a precision coaching rider. And that leaves just the riders in front. 1, 2, 3, 5 riders in front. So let's go back to them. All from 5 different teams, which is great in terms of, you know, nobody then has the advantage. So yeah, I didn't. When I saw Dulac off the back, I thought, nah, that's not right, because he's too strong. He's not going to get. He's not going to get the. Now this is a steep. This is where are we? Yeah. Okay, let's find out what's happening behind them. Then we'll come back to these 5 riders. And we'll keep an eye on the distance. It's 190 at the moment. Let's see. And there's Paul Pudell, but he's way back. And I don't see him closing that 650 meters. Even though he's working, I mean, Suhad is also putting out, look at what kilos he's putting out to try and get back on, as is Paul. Paul's in the 4s as well. So really working hard to try and get back on, but I can't see it happening, to be honest. But never say never. Tim Moss has caught up with Fernet, so these two would do well to try and work together. And then we've got the Oystenson group, my teammate Evan Oystenson. So Evan's still on for a top 10 place. Currently in 10th place, but that could all change around. It's really hard on this section to get the graphics because of the, look, you've got a software glitch there where it shows the wall, but this is, when it's switching about like this, tight turns, it's really difficult to get them on the road. Get the right camera angle. Working his way further back down the field. Macca, Mignow, Miller. And there's Tim. Now Tim's currently in 19th place, so the hill's really taken its toll on him. Now he will pull back a few places, I'm pretty confident, once we get up this hill. But he's certainly not going to be in the top 10, I wouldn't have thought, tonight, because of these hills. He's just not a hill climber. I mean, don't get me wrong, he's a bloody strong rider and he can hold his own on rolling courses, but on pure hills like this, he's really struggling. There's Gary, so he's doing well. Yeah, good ride, Gary. Well done, mate. Far up. And then we got my other teammate, Ian Hurst. And he's putting in good wattage as well. Nice riding. Eppler. And then Nielsen. So, I'm sorry about the trees, folks. As I say, if I keep switching the camera around, it's just going to, when they get to the next bend, it's going, whoops. When they get to the next bend, it's going to change anyway. So there's Silver. And there I am at the end. So let's find out. Okay, so Pulak has made and he's made a decent break off the front. So let's follow this. Let's zoom in and follow this. So there's Dulac, and you can see in the distance the riders behind him. So we're going to keep an eye on this in real time and see what happens. In fact, it might be worth switching to the riders behind him. So let's try that, and then switching the camera around so that we can see them chasing him. And there we go. Yeah, that's a better view. So now we can see these 4 riders chasing him down. And we can watch the catch if they're going to catch him, or we can watch the Dulac pulling out. He's actually pulled 60 metres when we joined this group. He's pulled it to 110, but they're pulling it back now. And you would expect that. A group of 4 on this kind of terrain are going to pull back a solo rider. It's just the way the dynamics work. So this is going to come back together. Dulac's gone off the front, which is no bad tactic. But in my mind, he's gone too early. The place to make the break is that, I'll show you with the mouse, this section here, this red section. That's where you want to be making the break for the win. Give it everything you've got up there and try and hold on the other side. You've really got to be pushing up that hill, because it's almost downhill to the finish. So this is going to be a good finish. I think it's going to be close. As I say, they're going to catch Dulac at any moment now. 23 meters and closing. So yeah. Spin the camera around again. Just watch the catch. There we go. So any second now, they're going to be on his wheel. So it's nice that we've got 5, and somebody's just been dropped off the back, but we've got, he's back on, that we've got 5 riders. I mean, credit to Dulac. Look at him, 6.4 watts. You know, he's really, really trying to stay away. So, but I think it'd have been better off waiting for that steep hill in front, because they're going to pull him back. I'm confident of that. Yeah, this is going to be an exciting battle, because it's all going to kick off as soon as we get to this this next hill. There's a steep downhill before we get there. Then there's the hill, and then there's a good downhill section. So one thing the riders must do is you can't freewheel on the downhill sections. You've really got to be still putting in the power. Depending on how fast you're going, of course. But yeah, you certainly don't want to be easing up and recovering on the downhill, because you'll find riders just pull away from you. So you can see Rob's the one doing the work to try and pull them back to him. We're still, I mean, that's a really good ride from Dulac. He's pegging it at 36 meters. And when they start to close up, look, he's actually extending the gap. So he's putting in a huge effort here. And the question is he going to pay for that, or can he maintain it? I mean, he could prove me wrong. I think they'll catch him. I think they're just, they're going to work together and they're going to catch him. But I could be wrong, because he's got 60 meters now. Let's see what happens. I mean, Dummer from OTR is really doing his fair share. Just look at Rob with his yeah, 7.2 watt kilos though. So although the graphics on screen showed him drafting there, he was still turning the pedals. So yeah, I mean, there we go. And that's why I'm glad I set an alarm, folks. So I'll just jump on the bike and I'll be back with you. We'll stay with this group, but I need to turn the pedals. There's my power. There's my cadence. Okay, and that should see me through to the end now, I hope. Although I will set another alarm once we've watched these riders go through, just so that I don't get kicked out before the end of the final rider coming in. But what time we got? 8:20. Okay. So this is the last steep hill. And Rob's just off the back. Come on, Rob. Get back on. I think he will. Can't see them. Yeah, he's going to get back on here. 6 kilos. There he goes. So yeah, they're not going to drop him. But who's off the... Dulac is still on the front. And he's got a 30 meter gap. They need to close. They need to close in on him. They cannot allow him to... if he gets 100 meters, he's gone. They're not going to catch him. So they need to peg it. They need to keep it under 50 and get him back as quick as they can. Otherwise, they're just not going to catch him. He's going to go. But they're pegging him back now pretty quickly, which you would expect. Pretty steep downhill section they've just finished, and now it's a bit less steep, so expect them. I don't see anybody jumping off the front here. I really don't. But you're going to have to watch the wheels. You cannot afford to keep burning matches by constantly having to jump to catch the wheel in front. So you've got to be careful. This is the part of the race where you can lose it. Just by a moment's lack of concentration, or just you're taking a bit of a breather, trying to get your breath, and a small gap of 10 meters opens up, and you're gone. You're off the back, and then you've got to burn a match to try and get back on, and that's going to cost you at the end. So yeah, you can definitely lose the race at this point. So you've got to concentrate. You've got to be full on with it, and just try and draft as much as you can as well. Don't be the one pushing on the front, doing all the work all the time. And you can see Rob has got that tactic down to a fine art here. He's very sensibly holding back, not doing all the work. I mean, he did a lot of work earlier on, so yeah. Another fairly steep, well, not steep, but 4% downhill section here now. It goes on for quite a while. This is it's a slight uphill finish, folks. I think if it finishes at the end of this profile, it's a slight uphill finish. So I think this is going to end in a bunch sprint. Now, who's my pick? Well, I have to go with Rob Miller, but I think Dulac is going to give him a run for his money. Rob's my teammate, so I'm going with Rob. And plus, he's a really strong rider, so I'm going to go with Rob, but I think Dulac could well have something to say about it as well. Let's crazy numbers being put out here. Let's get to the front and see what Dulac's doing. Riley's just taken over. Let's make sure. I'm going to keep flicking. Dummer from OTR is trying to make a break. 13 kilos. Okay. Oh, there we go. Dummer finishes first. Okay, so we'll get the positions, folks, but what I'm going to do is I want to find out what happens with the riders behind. So I'll pull this result up while we're watching the riders behind coming in. But yeah, it looks like Rob got second place. But I'm going to confirm that by going live to the how far behind he's got 1.5 kilometers to go. Let me see if I can just on my switch pad. Let's see if we can pull up the RGTDB database. Let's pull this out of the way. Is that out of the way or is that still in the way? Okay, folks, just give me a minute. I'll be back. We'll be back in the action in a minute. La Copa London. Yeah, Rob Miller got second, Philip Riley third, and Lawson fourth, and Dulac fifth. Okay, back to the action, folks. Sorry about that. Let's get back and watch Suhard coming in. So Suhard has got Rob got second place, but Suhard has got what, sixth place? Ideally, I should have changed camera angles for the pack, but I had such a good view of them coming towards the line that I thought I'd stay with it from the other direction. But this is normally the way that I try to turn the camera. But the problem with this is if it finishes on a bend, you can get caught out and it can be obscured by the trees. So that's why I went for the head-on finish. Although it does look like this is this, you can see the finish line from 200 meters away. So Mr. Suhard is now approaching the finish line. And then Paul Pudell is chasing. He's going to finish in 7th place. So we'll switch to Paul. There we go. Well done. Putting in a big effort towards the finish. 5.4 watt kilos, 5.6. So he's definitely pushing towards the end because Tim Moss is not that far behind him. So as soon as Paul goes over the line, I should switch to Tim. There we go. There's Tim Moss. And then a further 480 meters behind, we've got Fernet. There's Fernet. Just on the final bit of the downhill section. So it was slightly uphill finish, as you could see. That was a good win. My pick, Rob Miller, just got second from me. So that's 2 seconds. So he's going to be up there in the standings. So there's Fernet finishing over the line. And I think it's Stuart. Is it Stuart Murray and Jacobson? Oh, we're going to have a sprint, look. We're going to have a sprint. So Jacobson, and I'm not even going to try and pronounce Shut. Yeah, there they go. They got the best of Murray, and then Paul Hack. Evan Oystenson. Putting in a big effort towards the end. I'm surprised this course didn't suit Evan a bit more. But Macca. TR boy. and then two riders from Precision Coaching. Be interesting to see whether these two are going to sprint it out or they're going to finish together. Both French riders. And both putting in huge efforts towards the finish. So are they going to sprint or are they just going to come in together? 16th and 17th. So be interesting. Yeah. Van Vangt wants to take it, which he does. And they go. And Tim Cook. So he got 18th. Well done, Tim. Not your kind of course. You'll have your day, mate. You'll have your day when it gets to your kind of course. Miller. Yeah, this was a tough course. Twice up Box Hill is not easy. Tough course. So yeah, I'm okay time-wise. I should not have to jump back on the bike again. So there's Miller coming in. And then another 400 meters, Nielsen. Two Danish riders. And Rantzauer. And Rantzauer takes it. Nielsen. And another Danish rider, Mr. Rasmus. So that's 3 in a row. And in fact, 4 in 5 places. Sorry, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Danish riders. all more or less together, just split by a couple of riders. Nice going. And most of them belong to the same team as well. Not all. Like Jessen didn't belong to the same team, but like I say, once I get a chance to do my homework, and now that I'm back broadcasting again, there's Gary Birch from 3R. Well done, Gary. Yeah, once I get back into it, I should have time to look up riders and teams and then do a bit of homework for the next broadcast. That's been a good race tonight, though. I've enjoyed this. It pretty much went the way I expected, although I did think there was a chance of a rider going solo from that final hill, but once they were all together after that, it was always going to end in a sprint. So really good riding from the riders. Jessen, there's Page. You know, we used to wear jerseys that looked exactly like this back in Yorkshire in my day. Huddersfield Star Wheelers, red, black and yellow. Whenever I see that kit, it always reminds me of that. Okay, so there's Page coming over the line. Now we've got Hogg, another Danish rider, as I said, and then there's another one following him behind, and then 2 more a bit later. So a lot of Danish riders taking part in this race. Must be a good time slot for them. I'm sat here in the Netherlands and it's still pretty early, so Varup, hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. So a bit of a gap now, 1.7 kilometers to go. So let's just have a look. Can we see anybody else behind him on the road? No, we can't. Not at this moment in time anyway. But we're going to get all the riders. It's been a good turnout. We're going to get all the riders coming in. And then what I'll do is I will quickly pull up the RGTDB page again, and you can have a look at the live results. Certainly the top 10 anyway. But I'll work his way down the page and we can see where all the riders finished. But I'm basically calling them as they're coming in, and you're watching this. If you're watching this, you can see where they're placing as well. And in future weeks, I'll try and keep a running total. Probably do that after week 3 actually, because it's not really. Well, it might be. Maybe I'll announce who's leading the charge next week, but really we need 3 weeks results to before we start, because it's a 10-week series, so 3 weeks results would give us a good indication of where riders are at, rather than just taking the first couple of results. Now, because I'm, as I say, I'm being ultra careful not to overextend myself, and because I'm still struggling with my breathing, it's likely going to be another week before I am back on the bike. I was hoping to return this week and ride, but I think it's just too dangerous to attempt at the moment. I'm not right, and I really struggle and get out of breath. Even just walking up the stairs, you heard me at the start of this broadcast, I was definitely out of breath just from coming up to the attic. So I'm going to take it easy, probably another week, and then hopefully I can join one of our group rides next week. So Krupp, and then I think we've got, Ian from Team 3R coming in. Well done, Ian. And in fact, he's been followed by Silver, another Team 3R rider behind. We're just coming under the start banner. Well done. Finish banner, should I say. And there's Mr. Silver. So he's further 1.7 kilometers behind. So but I've enjoyed doing this. It's good to get back onto it. And to be honest, I'm really pleased that my setup worked, because I had to update the software, not RGT, but the OBS Studio software, just prior to this broadcast, because I hadn't been on for quite a while. And there are almost always glitches when you do that. And in fact, I even had one, but I had time to sort it before we went live. So whenever you do an update, there's always something goes wrong. Like my camera wasn't showing at all, and I had to fiddle about with the settings to get that working, and then I had to fiddle with the microphone. So it's going to be interesting to see how I move over to the Mac. I'm going to go with a M1 Mac. Now, I'm not quite sure yet whether I'm going with the M1 Mini or whether I'm going to buy a MacBook, because my existing laptop is toast. So I need a new laptop, but I might go for a small MacBook Mini and use a portable monitor with it. We'll see. But I'm selling my high-end PC, and it is a high-end PC. Runs everything in ultra at the highest resolutions. while live streaming and doesn't struggle at all. I mean, you can see I'm getting, what, 98 frames a second here, and it's not even on the highest setting. So my system isn't struggling at all here. Anyway, here comes silver. So yeah, expect me to get a lot more. There's silver. We'll get down to the next riders. Here they go. To be a lot more active once I start to feel a bit better. And certainly if I'm back on the bike, then I'll be back streaming regular. But it's just been really hard work, because I've been coming home from sort of like picking the girls up from school, because I'm the one that couriers them around, and that's been very, very hard while I've not been well. I come home absolutely exhausted, and thankfully I've had Hilke helping me by sort of giving me a bit of a pass on it. So yeah, it's been a hard, and this has gone on now for about 6 weeks. So I've really struggled. So I think these are the last 2 riders coming in. There's Ebler, and there's Nielsen. And you can see that I'm the only rider now left on the road. So that's it, folks. But before you go, don't log off just yet. Let's pull up the, here we go, press the button and pull up the RGTDB page. Let's just get this sorted on screen. There we go. So you're seeing what I'm seeing now, and let's click on the results. Okay, so Ryan Dummer, as you can see, took first place. Rob Miller got second. Philip Riley got third. Martin Lawson, fourth. Philippe Dulac, fifth. Johan Suhad, sixth. Paul Pudell, seventh. Tom Moss, I was calling him Tim. I apologise, Tom. I was calling you Tim earlier, because I do have a Tim Moss. That's a friend, that's why. And Finette, ninth. And Martin Jacobson, 10th. Now, I'm not going to call out all the riders. You can read the rest yourself. But here we go. I'll work my way down. So you can see the riders as they've come in. This is live. So these are live results. This is what's going to go on the website. And well done to all riders. Really good show. You should be pretty pleased with that, folks. That was a good race. Yeah, pretty good. Okay, and all that remains is to say thanks for watching. Please hit that like button. It helps me gain a bit more traction on YouTube. And if you're not a subscriber, why not? You know, hit the subscribe button, subscribe, and then you'll be notified when I'm covering more races and doing more events. But also, once I get back streaming, I'll be streaming like 2 and 3 times a week. So it's well worth subscribing, because I'll be covering lots of RGT content. But I'll probably wait until I get my new system and I'm fully recovered before I start doing that. So once again, thanks, and I hope you've enjoyed the broadcast, and we'll see you next Wednesday, same time. Stay safe, everybody, and I'll catch you later.